Hey, so today I'm going to show you 5 recording techniques for keyboards that will help spice up your music productions. For example, it's great having a beautiful warm pad, but sometimes once you put it in a mix, it just sounds like a big old stodgy, dated thing. These days we want motion, we want ear candy in our productions. So this is just some ideas, things that I've picked up along the way that I think will spark off some good ideas for you. By the way, I want to thank everyone who subscribed to me and supported over the last couple of years. I just hit 100,000 subs, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, can you do it now and click on the alert bell? There's lots of videos on my channel, so check them all out. All right, let's get started. Okay, so check this sound out. So that lead sound is a mono sound, but I want to give it a bit more spread. So I've just panned it off a bit to one side and sent it to a mono bus. And the bus is panned to the other side. And then I've put a very short ambience type reverb on the bus, 100% reverb, with a short pre-delay. The pre-delay is quite important because you get the sort of direct signal on one side, and then very quickly afterwards you get this different space, the reverb space. It just makes for a nice big sound, make more of a lead part, bring it out in the mix a bit. Obviously, you don't want everything to be stereo, but this is more if you want to feature it and make it a big sound in the track. So here's another little idea for you. So what's happening here is I've taken the mono dry track and I've copied it a couple of times and I've put different effects on the other 2 tracks. So now I can cut from the dry track to the different affected tracks and just suddenly put the sound in a different space just for a second. And I find that's a really great bit of ear candy. You just get one bit pinging out with a reverb, then it's dry again. This is just a very rough example what I'm showing you here. You can, your imagination is the only limit. You can do anything with it, but the idea is changing the space of bits of the keyboard so that suddenly, wow, it comes alive. It surprises your ear and it makes it more interesting to listen to. So let me show you it. So I've got the original dry track here, just a bit of EQ on it. The second one has got a chorus and a Valhalla shimmer. Sounds like that. I like that effect. It's kind of just puts it in a nice big space. But I've cut it so that, it's mostly the dry signal and occasionally you'll get this effect coming in. You can see here where I've cut it. So, that's just an idea. You can do it a million different ways, really, but it's a great idea to just put these things in different spaces. So I've got this sound here. Now let's spice it up a little. So what's going on there? I've got a long reverb on the Prophet, which then goes into a slow phaser. But most importantly, after that, I'm sidechaining all that with a kick drum, which you can't hear, which is playing a pulse rhythm that gives the piece more interest. So let me show you how it works. So for those of you who don't know sidechaining, it's a technique where you have a compressor on a sound and you use another sound to go into the compressor to trigger it. So it's very common to use a kick drum as a trigger. Then you get this pumping sound because when the kick drum hits, it ducks down the level of the compressor and then it comes back up when the kick drum's not hitting. That's what I'm using in this case. The only difference being you're not hearing the actual kick drum. So my send is this. That's what's going into the compressor. But I've turned the volume all the way down and I've assigned it to a bus 23 in this case, and I've set it to pre, which means that even though I've turned the volume down on the track, it's still sending out signal to the bus. And then I've got on the actual compressor, it's got an insert of bus 23. That's the sidechain, and you can see it triggering away with the kick drum. So the great thing about that is you can change the rhythm of it, throughout the tune. Sometimes not have it sidechaining. All you got to do is mute the kick drum at that point, and it'll suddenly even out. Then create the movement again. You can get some really interesting effects like that. See there, I'm cutting it out. Back in. So it's a great little effect. You can use your imagination, you can use it in so many different ways. You don't have to be hearing the thing that's doing the sidechaining, and it just creates a movement and makes your pad or whatever you're putting through it much more interesting. So I've got an electric piano type patch here on the Prophet. Sounds like this. And I want to put a reverb on it, but instead of just putting a reverb on this sound, what I've done is I've MIDI'd this to my Yamaha Montage and I've selected a similar-ish sort of sound on that, and I'm going to put the reverb on the Montage, and all you'll hear is the reverb, not the direct signal. So then you can basically get your own bespoke reverb. And I can do all sorts of things with this, like I can pitch up the Montage by a fifth, and then the reverb will be a fifth up. So let's have a listen to that. Opens up so many possibilities. You could put a really big slow LFO on the other synth, and obviously you can do this in plugins even easier, really. Just copy it over to a different synth on the MIDI and choose whatever sound you like. Let's try a different sound. This is a little trick to make a piano sound suddenly very intimate. I'm going to play it hard and then I'm going to play it soft, and you'll hear the difference between the two. So you can see it's really extreme between the two, but actually dynamically it's completely flat because it's compressed like crazy. And it's a real simple trick. All I'm doing is I'm putting a very small amount of a quite long reverb on the piano, and then after the reverb I'm compressing just the hell out of it with a fast release, so it really slams it. And what that does is when you hit it hard, the compressor obviously really slams. The reverb doesn't come out so much. You don't hear the reverb so much. And when you suddenly play softer, that reverb sort of whooshes forward and you get this really intimate effect, even though actually dynamically, like I say, it's completely flat. It's a very simple thing. There's nothing more to explain about it, but putting a reverb before a compressor and then really compressing hard will give you interesting results, not just with a piano, but with synths, you name it. It's obviously the other way round from what an engineer would naturally do. You know, they normally compress, then they put the reverb on. That is the more natural way to do it. Doing it the other way and being extreme about it can give you really interesting effects. So have a play with that. I guarantee you'll get some good results. All right, folks. Well, that's it for this time. Until next time.